It's time for a first look at the upcoming 2026 Berks County High School football season. Brought to you by WEEU's award-winning sports team. Nobody does high school sports like WEEU, the voice of Berks and beyond.
Welcome to our high school sports previews here, our high school football previews here on WEEU, presented by Savage Auto Group. I'm Bob McCool. And today we're going to take a look at Section 4 of the Lancaster-Lebanon League, and I'm joined by the head coach of the Wyomissing Spartans, Bob Wolfrum, and Teddy White, who's a co-captain for the Spartans here in 2026. Coach, I'm going to start with you. The fact that this is, I think, season number 40 as the head coach. Is that right? Is that the milestone?
Yeah.
I know you don't count them, but I'm supposed to count them. So I've just don't.
Well, this is one everybody keeps telling me about.
There's already a cake made, all that kind of stuff. But reality of it is you're now over the 380 win barrier, which is fifth best in PA. That's the number I've been keeping track of. And I know this is not in your DNA, but do you ever really think about all the coaches that you've passed and all the legacy that comes with the fact that you're the fifth winningest coach of high school football in Pennsylvania?
No.
I knew that'd be the answer.
You know, I don't worry about numbers, and when I get another win, somebody's telling me, well, you're going to pass this guy. It's like, a lot of those guys didn't coach as long as I did.
Yeah, that's true. But you probably would be able to tell me more about the 90-some losses that you had than the 380 wins.
Absolutely. You know what I can tell you about, too, is plays from 1987 and things that happened in games, but I can't remember half our players' names.
That's okay. That's why they wear numbers.
Yeah, that's why they have a roster there.
Also true. Last year, 10-2, another successful season of Wyomissing. It's standard operating procedure. You got to the District 3 4A semifinal. There's a gut punch at the time it happened when you lost in the semifinal to Susquehanna Township. They wanted it at the end of the game. I know when it happened, it is a tough one to absorb. But when you, as a football coach, see Torrin Evans, the quarterback for Susquehanna Township, made an unbelievable play to keep the game alive and make a play that ends up beating it. As a football coach, it hurts when it happens, but you can kind of appreciate a great game and a great play made by a great player.
Yeah, both teams played like champions. That last play was, what it was, but we did a great job. They had a lot of talent on the field. They had a lot of D1 players. And, we kept them in check enough that we had the same amount of points as they did going into the end of the game. So as long as we're competing like that, like you said, it hurts, but, we can deal with that. We had the exact same type of game the year before. Our last two playoff losses came on the last play of the game.
Right. Yeah. But you won some of them as well. That's the other piece of it. Teddy, you were a part of it. You were on the field as a part of that. Again, absolutely a devastating feeling at that. But you do know that at the end of a game like that, you've left everything on the field. And from a personal standpoint, it's as much as you can ask of yourself.
Right. I mean, I just feel like from an experience like that, you don't have any other choice but to learn from it. I mean, yeah, it hurts a lot. Still kind of does until we can get back out there. But I just feel like as a player, like you can watch yourself and figure out what could I have done differently in certain situations to prevent that from happening in the future.
Susquehanna Township wins the game against you, then goes on to play Twin Valley in the district championship. Twin Valley wins that game, goes on to a state championship. I know you've had your moments with Brett Myers when he was at Middletown and he's at Twin Valley, and you can certainly appreciate the incredible job that he has done at Twin Valley High School.
Absolutely. I mean, sort of figured that was coming.
Yeah.
And he got the job, but he's a great coach, and he runs what we do. He's a wing T coach.
You've described it to me, the wing T on steroids is how you describe that offense.
It's like nothing you usually see out of a wing T. In fact, the first time we played them when he was at Middletown, I went up And so, what the heck is this offense? They're spread all over the field. And here I come to realize it. They're just running wing T, but they're formationed all over the field. But they're still running trapped, waggle, the same stuff that we do.
Which is why, to my memory, the first time it wasn't pretty when you played Middletown. But after that, you kind of figured it out a little bit better, and you were able to compete against them. And the Middletown games beat you. Wyomissing and Middletown seem to meet each other almost every year, and now you've carried that through. When we talked with Coach Myers, he talked to us about the fact, for scheduling purposes, how now that they've had the success that they've had, it's been harder and harder to find teams that will come and play them. You've experienced that for a long time at Wyomissing, of teams that just, because you're successful and because of what you do, they opt, if they can, they prefer not to put you on the schedule.
It's hard to get games. My philosophy is you want to play the toughest schedule you can. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that worry about the point system. And, I don't think you get any better worrying about losses, but, it is tough. In the last 2 years, we're playing non-PIAA school, right? Because we just couldn't find any games. Now, we got Haverford, who was a real handful. But that was good for us, But you would think you could get it within the PIAA.
Right. And then now, because Twin Valley has moved from Section 4 in your section the last couple of years, they moved to Section 3. So now you've kept them on the schedule, and they'll come back to Wyomissing and play you again on the third weekend of the year at Wyomissing. So you're able to keep them on the schedule. So it's a mutual admiration society, but it's also the same thing. We can't find people who want to play us, but since we'll play each other, it's a great matchup to play them right before you get into section play.
Yeah. And we'll always, as long as he wants to do it, we'll do it, because, you never know what's going to happen. We may be the worst team in the league in a couple of years, but, if you go through your league schedule and get a good game in half of them, that's probably a lot. So it's important early in the year to get as many tough games as you can get.
As you look into the 2026 Wyomissing Spartans, what do you think the strength of Wyomissing is going to be this season?
Well, last year we thought it was going to be our weakness, but we have pretty much our whole offensive line back. And I think they'll be solid. We have a lot of, we have some good skill players. What we don't have is the depth that we've had the last number of years. I mean, we were 3 deep at halfback and fullback, but which is unusual, and we don't have that now. So Teddy's going to be playing some halfback. But it's fun. You got to make adjustments, and especially at a smaller school, you have to figure out a way to get it done.
But from your perspective and running the wing T, if you've got the bodies in place up front, you can kind of pick the rest of the places around them and find the skilled people, the athletes, to follow those blockers. It's harder, I think, to probably build the line than it is to build the backs.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. It's a line is something that if you don't have it, you're in trouble, and you don't always have it. It seems like every 2 years you get a new group of linemen.
Right.
So it's how quick you can get them ready to go. When they're seniors, things tend to go better.
Teddy, your role this year is going to be coach described it as a utility role. Defensively, you've played at the defensive back spot. You're probably going to slide up a little bit more now to a linebacker spot, but you've been a quarterback for the Wyomissing Spartans. You've lined up as a receiver, a tight end, now as a halfback. Is there a particular spot that you like more than others? And I'll even ask you from the side of the ball, offense versus defense. Is there the side of the ball you like better than the other?
I think I have to go outside backer there. I never envisioned myself playing there, and then
You've grown into the position.
I think I've grown into it a little bit. Like, I kind of see the ball from the outside a little bit, and I really like being in space. Like, the way outside backers can move in space, I think is a lot of fun. And I also like tackling. So,
From the offensive side, I mean, having played the quarterback position, did it give you just a different understanding of pretty much not just your position, but all the positions on the field? Because you kind of have to learn that as a quarterback.
after playing quarterback for as long as I did, I feel like I can go pretty much wherever. Like, last year, I was able to fit right into the tight end and split end whenever I needed to. And this year, I picked up running back fairly easy. Like, I still have a couple questions here and there, but pretty much just for my experience there, I can just do whatever if I need to.
Coach, I've always known you, among others, who like having a as from a free safety position, a defensive back position, and even in this case as an outside linebacker, because what you do with him, to have a guy who's played the quarterback position. Because, I mean, part of that is you're trying to read the mind and read the eye of a quarterback. So if you played the position, you have a better understanding of it.
Yeah. Guys who've played quarterback sort of get it, because whether they knew it or not, they had to know what everybody was doing. And when you have that knowledge, you just become a better football player. And I always say that if you have some smart players on the field, that's a little more important, quite frankly, than talent. Now, I'll take a guy that gets it right all the time over just a guy that great talent but doesn't always get it right.
Teddy, you and your teammates obviously know the legacy of Bob Wolfrum, and you're playing on Bob Wolfrum Field on a Saturday afternoon. But I mean, I know quite a few alums who have nothing but admiration for Coach and what he's done. Is it something you realize as you're playing it, or do you think it's going to be something more so that you're going to know after you're done playing for him on a regular basis?
I think as I've gotten older, I've started to appreciate it more, and especially like as I talk to other people in other programs about our program, and it's like they're not getting the same coaching and the same like level of discipline that you get here. So I think that as I've gotten older, like this is my 4th year now, and I think the appreciation just continues to grow, especially as I get further in the program.
Coach, I want to talk a little bit about your schedule and talk about a mutual admiration society. You start the season with Southern Columbia. You started with them last year. 2 great coaches, Jim Roth, who is the all-time winningest coach in Pennsylvania high school football, happened to go on and win a state championship last year. Their 15th, I think it was, their state championship. I've lost count. I don't know if Jim Roth even could tell me how many he knows off the top of his head. But you started the season at Southern Columbia a year ago. You end up overly giving them their only loss of the year. And in reality, you're going to start the season again in 2026. But from your standpoint, the opportunity to play a team at a program like Southern Columbia, whether it's the first week or the last week, is just a great challenge. I know that you look forward to.
Yeah, the off season is always better when you have a big team to play at the beginning of the year. The players take it a little more seriously. They know they don't have a walkover the first week. They may get walked on if they, don't take it serious. And I think that playing good competition just makes your players take it more seriously, and it makes them tougher.
In week 2, you're headed to the Philly Public League to take on Frankfort. And I know that's a special thing for you to play against Frankfort High School.
Yeah. That was probably the first football field I was ever on, but it's because my dad used to take me to practice, and he played there. They won the 1940 Philadelphia championship, and he coached there for all through the late 40s and early and the 50s. So I used to run down there after school. It was about a half-hour ride. But on Thursday afternoon, which is when they play their games, I was down there, and they had traditions sort of like we do. unfortunately, that's changed. But I always wanted to play there. When we were in college, we used to take our show on the road in spring practice and have clinics. The coaches would have clinics. And I got to play there one Saturday morning. But I always wanted to get back down there. It's a pretty neat place. I think fallen into disrepair a little bit.
Right.
But it's just a neat place with a lot of history. And I said to Frank, hey, hey, I was talking about retiring. I said, well, if you get Frankfurt on the schedule, I'll stay. And son of a, it's hard to even get a call back from the Philadelphia schools.
Right.
And I said, who we getting on that second week? He said, Frankfurt. I said,
Guess you're staying.
wow. I said, he's a heck of an AD. Yeah. That's just a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of game it is.
And you really don't know what you're going to. I mean, I went back and looked the last couple of seasons for Frankfurt. They were like 10 wins one year, 2 wins the next, 10 wins the next. So you really don't know for sure what you might be experiencing going into that. When you're coming off of Southern Columbia and you got Twin Valley on the other end of it.
Yeah.
In between there is Frankfurt. So you're kind of going in. You know what you got from one. You know what you got on the other end with Twin Valley. You don't really know what you have in between for Frankfurt, and a little bit less time to prepare for them because of the
Thursday game. Yeah. We really don't know. Like last year, they really struggle. But who knows? They've played 1 or 2 PI outside the city.
Right.
And, their scores were, yeah, we should beat them, but they may have an entirely different group of kids this coming year.
So when you get back then after the first 3 weeks, and Twin Valley, we'll be there for the Twin Valley game on September 12th, the Saturday afternoon game at Bob Wolfrum Field. You get into Section 4 of the Lancaster-Lebanon League, and at the end of this season is the matchup with Lancaster-Strasbourg, which has become, I mean, I don't think we saw this coming necessarily when Berks County morphed into the Lancaster-Lebanon League, but what a great rivalry Wyomissing and Lancaster-Strasbourg has become over the last couple of seasons. It's a greit program. Victor Ridenour does a great job with LS, and it's become a really great rivalry between the two of them.
Yeah, I always say to Victor, after the first time we played, we scrimmaged them the year before we jumped into the league. And I said to Victor, that was what you call a Schlabbernager. And both, nothing going on dirty or anything, but both teams just compete and love to hit. And it was a great scrimmage for us. Now it's a game, but it's pretty neat to end your season on that. And they're really good guys. And I enjoy playing against people that you can talk to.
Right.
After, no matter what the result was, you can talk to them about what you did in the game, and there's no hard feelings.
It becomes a mutual admiration side, and I think that's the best way to describe what those two have become, and we're looking forward to that game on our schedule as well. Teddy, as a player, I mean, we're talking about some of the games. You talk about Southern Columbia and an opportunity to go against Twin Valley, who you lost to last year. And again, that Lancaster-Strasbourg game, which you've experienced those games the last couple of seasons. You played them in a district final 2 years ago. That was a great football game. But is there a game on this schedule that you, going into your senior year, are looking forward to maybe more than any other?
I mean, obviously those 3 are the big ones, but I would probably honestly say Lampeter, just because I think we're 2-2 against them in the last 2 years. And if I had to guess, that's going to end up being the section championship. So that, honestly, I'm looking forward to that, playing a championship game at our home field. I don't think we have one of those in a couple of years. So
obviously, this is not a surprise to anybody that Wyomissing runs the wing T. I think most people probably have figured it out.
Yeah.
But as a player, I mean, it's an old school offense. But from a player standpoint, from your standpoint, do you appreciate the fact that this is Wyomissing and this is what we do? It's cool, old school, but it's us, and it's kind of our badge of honor.
yeah, I definitely appreciate it, especially like when we play teams that are probably physically better than us. Like we played a couple of those games last year. Like we had no chance of winning those games if we run like a regular spread offense. Like the wing tee is really hard to figure out on a defense. So I just think having that, like having the smarts it takes to run the wing tee is a huge help for our program, and it will be forever.
High school football, it's all about Friday nights under lights. You get to do that on an away game basis, but from Wyomissing standpoint, it's a Saturday afternoon. You guys kind of make that feel like it's a little bit special. It's what makes you unique because you get to play on Saturday afternoons.
Yeah, it honestly feels like kind of a college football atmosphere. Like they play Saturday afternoons, and we have all these traditions that we do before the Saturday afternoons. Like our dads make breakfast in the morning, which is like you would think that it's like blah, but I think that's my favorite tradition that we have, that we all wake up and go eat pancakes with the teammates before the games. And then just playing on that field on Saturday afternoon, like the other team, they're not used to it, obviously. And it's also just, I've been playing on that field my whole life. So it's just a good feeling.
Coach, getting ready to go for camp. I don't know if you think it's fun. I don't know if you think it's a grind. I don't know if you think it's a necessary evil. But what's the best part about it? Other than the end.
About camp?
Yeah.
One thing, the end. I don't think there's anybody that has been through it that would say there's anything good about camp, except you have to do it. Football's a sport that you can't practice once a day for 2 weeks and be any good. Right. We have to have those 2 days, and it really sucks. Full uniform, 95 degrees, and I sometimes question the PIAA why we're playing at that time of year, and they keep moving it up.
Right.
I'm going way back now, but I don't think when I was in high school we played a game till mid-September.
Yeah,
and that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And we played till
Thanksgiving,
right, during football weather.
Correct.
So. But we can't do anything about that. So, we just try and enjoy the suck.
Words to live by. But from your perspective, I mean, you've been obviously, it's the first time you said about the whole Frankfurt thing. That's the first time I've ever actually heard you use the word retire. But obviously you still find great joy in doing this. And you really don't think about the end. You think about just, I want to keep doing this as long as I possibly can.
Yeah, the football part of it, you can have all the outside stuff, like all the meetings, and you got to vote for all-star teams and all that stuff. I really want nothing to do with all that. If I could just show up, plan our practices, and go to our practices, I'd be happy. And we're very lucky to have Frank Ferrandino on the staff, who he's the AD, so he takes care of a lot of stuff that at a lot of schools that I would be the one that had to do that. And so that's probably kept me in it a little bit longer.
He's also been my utility guy too, because I've made use of him just like you're making use of Teddy, as he's filled in with us as well. Frank's a great guy, and we appreciate it. Gentlemen, we appreciate it. Teddy, enjoy the heck out of your senior season. We're looking forward to seeing you play. Coach, is always a great time to have a conversation with you at any point in time. Take a look at the Wyomissing Spartans in Section 4 of the Lancaster-Lebanon League. Our Section 4 preview of the Lancaster-Lebanon League continues now as a take a look at the Conrad Weiser Scouts. We stop by practice, talk to head coach Alan Moyer. With head coach for the Conrad Weiser Scouts, Alan Moyer. Coach, season number 24 as the head coach here in Robisonia. What's your motivation to keep doing this every year?
Hey, I get to answer that a lot, that question a lot, Bob. And it's really, as long as I wake up and I'm motivated and I'm passionate about this sport and I'm passionate about the kids and passionate about the school, I'm going to keep going. It is a passion thing.
Last year started out great. 4-0 jump to the season, end up 5-5. Thoughts on how this season ultimately ended up a year ago?
Again, tough competition. I mean, that Section 3 of the Lancaster-Lebanon League is brutal. We were, believe it or not, pretty lucky to squeak out those first 4. We think we did a nice job of putting our kids in the right position to win those games. But down the stretch, it was going to be tough to get another win.
You mentioned Section 3. You were in Section 3 the last 2 seasons with the realignment. Now you go to Section 4. Feelings not so much about the teams you're going to face, but just the fact that you're going from 3 to 4. Your thoughts about it?
Again, lower numbers this year for us. So we're really where we belong as a school district, population-wise. So I feel a little bit more comfortable being down with schools and competing with kids with about the same numbers in their programs.
Whether you believe this or not, I remind myself of this. This is the 5th season since Berks merged into the Lancaster-Lebanon League. You've been around this for a long time. I think you were always a pro of the idea. Still feel like this was the best thing for Berks football to be part of the LL?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things, when you talk about the reasons that were behind it, which were some of those smaller schools thinking about possibly giving up football, you never want to see that. In the end, did it really work out for us? No, I'm playing some tougher teams that I wouldn't really want to play, but it's just where we fell with the sections. But for overall of football in general in our area, it's the best thing that happened.
As we're talking to you, you're a couple days in camp, and I know your numbers aren't where you want them to be. Is it anything in particular that you feel as if that has the numbers down? Is it something you feel like you could change somewhere down the road?
Again, I've been questioned that the last 3 or 4 days. What's going on with the numbers? And it kind of had me down the first day when we walked out here and saw smaller numbers. But as I said before, and I just told the kids this. We just got off the field and I said, we've been talking about this numbers thing, and I apologize because it's not about the numbers. It's about the quality of kids that it only takes 11 on a Friday night to put out in the field. So the kids so far are very coachable. They've been very accepted to our coaching and listening to every last word. So, hey, give me kids that want to play football, have a passion to play football. I don't care how many they are. Let's go out and play some ball.
Well, look, it's high school football, and you're going to have kids playing both ways. That's part of the game. If you're going to limit the numbers, and maybe it's the numbers, as long as you have solid kids at those positions, maybe in such situations you might be forcing a kid into that 11-man rotation on one side of the ball or another, who might not be, just because you're trying to build numbers. So maybe you're just playing your best 11 as many times as you are.
Yeah, we are, and it's like I said before, it's a little bit back to Iron Man football. I don't like it. We were fortunate enough for some years to play platoon, 2-platoon football, and really keeps the kids healthy. But that was part of the off season. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. Hey, you guys better commit to the weight room.
So what's going to have to happen for Conrad Weiser to have a successful football season this year?
Again, develop this young group of kids early. We have to mature real early. We got to stay healthy. Again, depth with any program is a concern, but when you have lower numbers, depth is certainly a concern. So hopefully, again, pray to God that the kids stay healthy and keep giving us what we got.
So who are some of the kids we're going to see on Friday nights from Conrad Weiser who are going to step up and jump out to you this year?
Well, I think, again, some of our depth is up front with the front line. Ryan Case is returning, Weston Ulrich. We have Robbie Giffen coming back. Had played on both sides of the ball a little bit for us. So we got Cole Cooper, who's just multi-talented, athletic kid. I told him today, I said, you're not only going to punt, you're probably going to hike the ball to yourself, punt, and you're going to be the water board on Friday night as well. So he's going to be on both sides of the ball as well. We got some good interior linebackers and defensive guys. Ethan Reinert is returning from last year, got a lot of reps. Luke Walders played some defense for us as well and did outstanding. So Connor Sellers returns as quarterback. So we're excited with what the kids we got, and we just got to continue to work hard each day and keep coaching them up.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about Cooper, because we were here last year and did a game against Fleetwood, and it was relatively early on in the season, but you were excited about him then. You're like, Bob, this kid's going to be something special. You just liked his athleticism. You'll turn him into a football player.
Yeah, he's a real athlete. Again, I equate him a little bit to the Twin Valley kid who's going to play lacrosse at Army.
Drew Angle.
Drew Angle, yeah. He's a heck of a lacrosse kid, and that's kind of what I tell the college coaches coming in. I tell you what, he's probably a D1 lacrosse kid, not a D1 football player yet. Could possibly turn into that, but yeah, he's very talented.
And I also want to talk to you about your quarterback, because you love this kid. In basketball terminology, he's a gym rat. I think that's what he is on the football field.
He knows our offense inside and outside. He's been our ball boy for the last how many years? He's been around the program. Connor can run our offense very well. He hopefully will do what we expect him to do. He's not going to throw the ball 75 yards down the field to beat you, but he's wiry, he's elusive when he does carry the ball, and he's an accurate short, medium range thrower.
Yeah, we had him on last year because he was the player of the game in that game. And we don't necessarily get to see these kids without a football helmet off. And he takes a football helmet off, and he looks like he's 12. But he's just got the guts of a cat burglar, and he was great that night.
He's a competitor. And that transfers over to his wrestling as well. But very much of a competitor. Does not like to lose. So it's a good quality to have as your quarterback.
So you go from Section 3, now you go to Section 4. So that's not a big deal because there's Wyomissing, there's Lampeter, Stroudsburg.
Yeah.
What else about Section 4 makes you excited?
I don't know. Again, just playing different teams. I mean, it was kind of neat when we did go into this league, going to some place you'd never been before, like a Warwick, and the facilities and how people treat you. And it was a good experience, and it has been a good experience. Going back and playing some old foes as well. Elko now is again a league game, all right, in our backyard, but playing some people that we haven't played for a while. Daniel Boone, we haven't played Northern Lebanon. So there's a lot of teams that we haven't seen for a while. So just that change in, getting to prepare for different teams gives us a little bit more excitement.
And that's the other thing about playing in the LL now for a couple seasons. You get to build other rivalries with other teams. And Conrad Weiser and Elko has always kind of been this rivalry that's existed out here.
It goes back to
but
the
between
70s.
you two teams, you don't like each other a whole lot. You like playing against each other.
Absolutely. I think it's a good, you talk about backyard, brawls. I mean, Elko and us, we battled since the 1970s with some really, really good football. So again, I always tell people, you say, who's your greatest rival? Whoever the next game is. I don't like the next game, whoever it is, that's the team I'm going to be rivaled against.
All right, well, your next game is Schuylkill Valley. So let's talk a little bit about Schuylkill Valley. That's who you're going to open up with. Your old buddy Bruce Harbach is running the show. He's done a great job in making them a consistent football program year in and year out. I know you're not surprised by that.
No.
What are you hoping to get out of week number 1?
Again, going up against a well-coached football team. Bruce and his staff do a great job. We were able to coach together in the All-Star game a little bit, and that was certainly a pleasure. But Schuylkill Valley will be ready. I mean, they have some good talent returning, quarterbacks back again, and they got some good skill kids. We saw them at a little bit of 7-on-7. So they're scary. And like I said, it's going to be, who's in shape, who can play 4 quarters, who's going to rise to the occasion.
We're in the midst of camp going on right now, and you're getting ready for opening night on August 28th. How jacked are you for the season to get started, but knowing full well you'd like to have a little bit more time at the same time to get ready for it?
Yeah, again, very excited, but when you do have small numbers, one of the advantages of that is the amount of reps you get. We have like 10-minute periods or 8-minute periods, and the amount of reps you get with lower numbers is incredible. I mean, we're getting out of these periods, and hey, we're happy with it. Hey, let's move on to the next period. So, it's a lot of preparation to do. Obviously one scrimmage anymore, and that's going to be Berks Catholic, and that's not going to be a long scrimmage. Again, with numbers, you got to be careful with injuries, but hopefully we'll be ready Schuylkill Valley.
It's his 24th season as the head coach. He's been here forever as a player, as an assistant coach, and now in his 24th season as a head coach. Conrad Weiser and Alan Moyer visiting us as we preview Section 4 of the Lancaster-Lebanon League. Our Section 4 preview continues as we spend some time with the head coach of the Daniel Boone Blazers, Steve Pangburn. Stopped by practice and got a chance to talk to him. He took us in the weight room. We're talking with the head coach of the Daniel Boone Blazers, Steve Pangburn. And Coach, you spent the last couple seasons at Fleetwood, first as an assistant and as a head coach, and now you take over as Daniel Boone program. What was the impetus for you to want to take over this program?
I always kind of had an eye on that, local resident. So when I was there, I was just kind of keep my eye on what was going on here, and the opportunity kind of opened. I thought about it long and hard and decided to put my name in the hat, and here we are.
You are a Daniel Boone graduate, so from your standpoint, it's coming home, but it's a different home from what you remember it to be, but it's ultimately what feels the most comfortable for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I took in all factors, believe it or not, travel is one of the factors in making this decision. So, this was just coming home, and just felt like it would be easier.
The program has obviously gone through some lean years. There's no hiding that. But what do you think has to happen first and foremost to start to change the culture here at Daniel Boone?
I think that's just it, the culture. There needs to be a standard set, which we are setting on a daily basis, and just really diving into the details, the small things. It's oftentimes small things that wins you a ball game. So we've been focused on that, stripping it right down to the fundamentals daily and just building it in that process.
Daniel Boone, over the course of time, has had some really good athletes come through this school district. Maybe not always some great teams, but some good athletes. Is there a way to merge that together and get some of those good athletes and maybe get some of those other athletes from other athletic programs as well?
I mean, just like anywhere, it starts with once you start to win and develop a culture, people want to come out. So we've got some new guys here. I think we have a pretty high amount on our roster this year compared to others. So it's starting to happen. Now we need to follow it up, do it on the field, and get that ball rolling.
How will you define success in 2026? Success is a lot of different things for a lot of different programs, but for Daniel Boone, with what you know you have to build here, how will you define having a successful season?
I think it stops and starts with the scoreboard. You got to win football games. Other than that, just you're having a culture that's inviting to bring people out for football, understanding that we are a team. It's not a bunch of individuals. So I think once that occurs and kind of the word gets out, we shouldn't have a problem filling this roster year in and year out.
Because that's it. It's about numbers and getting kids to come out and making kids understand. So how are you looking right now going into this season in terms of numbers?
I believe we take in the field right now 66. That does include ninth graders, some of which will play middle school. So the goal is let's start the season 55 to 60.
When you go into a program and go into a program new, a lot of times the thought process is let's get some of the kids to get more involved at the youth level. But then at the same time, you're also buying a lot of time for that to happen. So from that standpoint, is that an attack for your standpoint, or are you worrying about getting the coaches at those levels and trying to get those coaches to build those programs?
I was actually down there last week, and I loved what I saw. A lot of kids were out. Bodies were in motion the whole time. That's what I like to see at a practice. So it looks like they're in a very good position themselves. But you are right. In taking over this program, it was all hands on deck in this building. And meeting and talking with those guys. But I got the sense very early on it's in pretty good hands.
I saw you at Lancaster-Lebanon League Media Day. We didn't get a chance to talk in depth then like we're doing now. But I also saw, because what you did is you bring 4 kids with you to Media Day. You brought some dudes with you to Media Day, I can tell you that. And you look kind of like a proud dad walking around with those kids. I'm not sure who those kids are. You can tell us who they were. But they look like they were football players.
Yes, sir. We had Jaden Salata, Dominic Stout, Chase Jordan, and Tegan Ricard. 3 seniors, 1 junior. Jordan's the junior. We're in the weight room. We've spent a lot of time in the weight room. We had 12 kids at the 1,000-pound club. A few others just miss it. So we've been grinding. We've been grinding in here. I think people will be very surprised at what we put on the field.
It's somewhat hard to judge success until the first Friday night on August 28th. But you, as a coach and a guy who's been around football for a while, you can judge success in different ways, and I think you just talked about one of them. So the numbers that you're seeing in the weight room are obviously, from the smile on your face, they are a progressive point.
Yes, for sure. Don't know how much that was tracked in the past. I just knew that from day one when we got in here, we were tracking. So, I've seen the numbers go up periodically throughout our max periods. We just had our last one, and that's where that data came from. But our attendance in here it's been wonderful. We fill up the racks daily, and it's just been a real great time in this weight room.
Because in order to be successful, the reality of it is if the more time you can get kids in a weight room, the better you're going to be by the time the end of August rolls around. So it's getting kids to buy into that in the off season. That is the sales job that you have to do right now. Mm-hmm. And that's so far working.
It's worked wonderfully. I was very fortunate. I retained 2 coaches from the last staff, and when I walked in here day one, they had the train on the tracks in here. And we didn't make a lot of changes because they had it pretty well under control. And that's been very smooth, and the numbers have been great.
You're going to play in Section 4 of the Lancaster-Lebanon League in 2026. Obviously, Wyomissing is going to be the major factor in that. Lampeter-Stroudsburg is a great football program. Anybody else in particular that you think is going to be a factor in Section 4 this season?
Coming into it, new to the section, everybody's going to be a factor to me, and that's the way we're going to approach it. In fact, I told the boys the other day, we have 1 team on our schedule, that's Lebanon. That's it. That's our focus. We won't look beyond that. But for the sake of this interview, I think the section's got pretty good. You mentioned the 2 heavy hitters. I'd like to have us enter into that conversation sooner than later.
So before you get there, you got to get through the non-league portion of the schedule. And it's Lebanon, it's Pottstown, and it's at Hamburg, the 3 games. What do you hope to be able to have accomplished by the time you get through the non-league portion of your schedule?
3-0.
Why did I know that was what you're going to be your answer? I understand that that's exactly it. But is there anything in particular in terms of what are you trying to change the things that you do? I mean, it's a new coaching. You kept some coaches, but is what you do and the systems that you're going to implement offensively, defensively, going to be things that you do or things that these guys are more accustomed to have done in the past?
We completely reinvented both schemes, offensively and defensively. Thankfully, like I said, we've had great attendance through the spring and summer, so they understand our language, and we've been applying it, so I don't see that being a hiccup. I think it'll be a strong suit.
I know you don't want to look past week 1, but I'm going to look all the way to week 10.
Got it.
Because week 10, you're going to play Conrad Weiser. It's a program that you're familiar with.
Yes.
Fleetwood played Conrad Weiser. But it ultimately is, you're looking for rivalries. And for whatever reason, I think that Conrad Weiser taking on Daniel Boone, that could be ultimately a really good rivalry for both schools who don't right now have a natural rival.
I agree. We're right around the same size. They've obviously had a lot more recent success than us. But I would love to see that potentially become our rival.
The Pioneer Bowl, we'll call it. Daniel Boone and Conrad Weiser. That's in week 10. He's worried about week number 1. Steve Pangburn, the head coach for the Daniel Boone Blazers.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking a look at our previews of the Lancaster-Lebanon League as we get you set for opening night. Thanks to Sean Tansky and Matt Knob for their work in putting all this together, in addition to the cooperation of the coaches and players for allowing us the opportunity to spend some time with them. Getting you set for August the 28th. That's when it gets rolling for us here on WEU. We get it started with Governor Mifflin and Wilson, and we'll be at it each and every Friday night and a couple of Saturdays at the A Field in Wyomissing as well. We've got a great schedule on hand for you. Hope you'll check us out. Of course, we're always on the radio at 8:30 a.m. WEU. You can find us online as well, but of course, we have the video for you too. It's on our YouTube channel at 8:30 WEU Sports. Matt Lytle, Sean Tansky, and yours truly, Bob McCool, will be with you for our Friday nights of high school football presented by Savage Auto Group, coming your way this fall.